Welcome to the preview for the 2024 Healesville Cup. We've got a great final ahead of us this week after what was a set of ripping heats on Sunday just gone. My name's Jason Adams. I'm joined by Corey Smith. And Smithy, although the racing was hot, conditions were all over the place. As you said on Sunday on air, our Buffons were going everywhere. It was hard work, but didn't seem to have too much of an impact on the way the racing played out.
Yeah, pretty grim patch to try and get me to Healesville on a Sunday after a 30th.
You weren't any good, Nick?
No, at a 30th at Nagambie the day before. So I was battling. And then when I got there and the wind started just absolutely flapping my toupee around, it probably wasn't the ideal conditions for us. Definitely not the ideal conditions for me. But as you said, the racing was hot on the track. And we will get into the field a little bit later. But Brooke Ennis sent me a message and she said, I've got plenty of hair. So if next time I have a haircut, you need some hair, let me know and I'll get a toupee built for you, because it was obviously flapping around and it was getting plenty of conversation started after Sky.
Well, as long as it doesn't get too thin and it stays in your head when this wind picks up, that's the key.
I think that's my problem.
It's going to be the key. But we've spoken in at length of sort of not generations gone past, but at least the past 12, 18 months, the dominance that the likes of Unleashed Kalinda have had on the straight track ranks, maybe yesterday, last year's winners. So to have the sort of dominance and the star power they brought to the table, now out of whack. It's so open, this final we've got ahead of us.
Yeah, it certainly is. You look at the fastest ever times, Unleashed Kalinda maybe yesterday, they just dominate them, whether it be the 300, whether it be the 350 metres. We've even seen Destructively take out 3 feature events in the last 12 months as well. So there's been a real clear domination of greyhounds in the last, as you said, 12 to 18 months. But there's a few fresh greyhounds on the scene, and I tell you what, it's ramping up to be one of the most depth-filled Healesville Cups that we've seen in recent memory.
My word, it is. And before we get stuck into the preview later on in the show and how we think the race is going to play, having a bit of fun before we get there. Now, we know our mate James Vandermart is a part of this final field with Spot Fox, and firstly, how good to see him have that success. I mean, Healesville's been his backyard just about all of his life. We know how passionate he is. He lives and breathes the game. So huge achievement from him and especially Chloe to make their way through to the final.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Chloe, because she does all the heavy lifting, as we know. JVDM, he's off gallivanting around doing cashies here, there and everywhere. But no, we joke. In all honesty, what he's done in the last 10 to 15 years in regards to media promotion, he's a bona fide Hall of Famer if he continues on this sort of path. And I don't like giving him too much of a rap. I don't like giving him...
This would make you feel sick.
It does. It makes me want to vomit everywhere. But it is very well deserved. And for them to have a greyhound in a race that James has been calling for so long, that Healesville is a place that's meant so much, where he's raising a young family. I can't even imagine what that feels like this week to them, the whole Vandermart clan, and for them to experience that with Spot Fox, who Des Doush kindly let them train a little while ago with these sort of targets in mind. I think it's going to mean a hell of a lot, and I can't even fathom what'll happen if he wins, Patch.
For sure. Are you a superstitious sort of guy, Smithy, back in your footy day, where I know you've gloated about what you could have been if things went to plan? Were you very superstitious at all?
I wasn't real superstitious. I tried probably a different superstition every 3 weeks. I'd play a decent game, and then all of a sudden I'm listening to Thunderstruck again the day before the game.
Need new boots.
Yeah, need the new boots, putting on the left boot first. I don't know. I've never found a superstition that works. I'm obviously consistently average in every facet of life. So superstition probably doesn't happen to me, but I know it does for a few other people, and there might be a little request that we have to put in.
Yeah, I've seen a glaring example of this in the past few days. We know in greyhound racing we've got heats which then link into a final, so quite similar circumstances. They're going up the same track, and the greyhound with which we've been speaking about, Spot Fox, will jump from the same draw. Won't he, Smithy, if he's gone from box 3 in the heat, box 3 in the final. So for Vandermart and the whole crew, he'd want to keep everything the same. And you wouldn't believe what I saw at the Meadows on Saturday night. We know Jim's a vegetarian and a very passionate one. I don't think anyone's really ever felt like they could swing to that side of the fence. Most people anyway. Outside of what I saw him get stuck into on Saturday night, I thought I was just about to become vegetarian myself. 2 hot jam donuts.
That's a nice little tick.
A glass of chocolate mousse.
Chocolate mousse as well.
And a can of Coke, which I know he loves.
Oh, my word.
So for anyone who thought they might never be a vegetarian, that started to swing me. So for you, Smithy, is going to be with James at the Meadows on Saturday night for his best interests and his best set of luck leading into Sunday's final. You've got to sort him out with the same meal.
Do you reckon he has to have the same meal, or does he go one step further and he adds an extra donut and an extra mousse just to really top himself up and make sure he's nice and full and not too nervous the next day?
For the cherry on top, probably. Or maybe he has 2 sittings. He can have one before the first and one after the last leg of the quaddie.
All right, that sounds like a plan. We'll make sure that happens.
Indeed. So imagine if he won.
Yeah.
What would you do if he won?
Well, this probably sparks a little bit of a conversation that we had off air. And most of the time, the general rule in media is don't bring your conversations off air on air. But we're going to do that now. Generally. But you messaged me yesterday and you said, imagine if Jim wins. What's he going to do? I reckon he'll throw a big Anthony as a party. And I was howling. I thought
loved it.
I thought it was unreal. Just a nice little bit of slang term. And you and I are both big fans of slang. And it's probably not well known enough in greyhound racing and these sort of things that they kind of become part of the common vernacular. But I think you and I need to start that. And I think you in particular, because you're the man that I reckon can help us all out and bring some slang into our common vernacular.
Yeah, and yeah, we do find it quite amusing as we've got a pretty dull and dry sense of humour. So I was on the train on the way home last night, and as soon as this topic came to my head, I thought we can have a bit of fun on this podcast. Here's one way to do it. So rhyming slang, which is based around greyhound trainers. So I had a long list of about 20. Smithy said, you can't be rolling out these one after the other. So I've narrowed it down to what do we got 4.
I said, how many have you got for me, Patch? Because to be honest, I haven't put any work into this, and this is usually what happens. I just roll in and strut my stuff, whereas Patch he puts all the hard work in, and he goes, I've got at least double digits for you, mate. And I said, can we just cut that down to probably 4 or maybe 5, and we'll go from there, and we'll see how we go.
Yeah, well, one of them would probably get me the sack, I'd say.
Yeah,
we spoke about
definitely.
We're not taking that on air.
No,
but anyway, let's go through these 4. Now, you know where I live, Smithy?
Yes.
I live in Berwick. It's congested. I've got good access to the freeway, which is pretty good. But you get down towards the areas of Clyde and whatnot, it's absolutely chock. As you drive down there, you've got estates and Daryl Holmes popping up everywhere. It's okay.
The Ken Carr medalist. The Ken Carr medalist.
The
himself.
reigning Ken Carr champ.
I reckon he'll like that one too. We'll have to let him know that.
Oh, yeah, we'll have to. Okay. Now, Smithy, I know you're single at this point in time.
Yep.
But if ever you found a lady, whoever you might do that, whether
I'm
it's
nervous where this is going.
Whether it's at your 30th last Saturday night or at the Meadows this Saturday night, who would know? But you got to take her out to a restaurant and just soak up a nice David Gill.
Yeah, that's good. I like
You
that.
like that?
I like the Daryl Holmes one, but I reckon the David Gill one, I reckon we can use that more often.
All right, take 2 for D Gill.
Yeah.
All right, nothing better, is there, than a long week at work. Friday comes up and everyone gets that Friday sort of feeling, and especially me, when I get home, turn on the TV, either the footy's coming up or in soon times, it'll be the BBL. Open up my Uber Eats, order a David Gill, wait for it to turn up and just sit back on the des couch and relax.
Yeah, brilliant. Brilliant.
Brilliant.
I like
Bit
that.
straightforward.
No, it's straightforward, but I like it.
All right, last one pushes the boundaries a little bit, but nowhere near as the one that I spoke about earlier that wouldn't get it.
We'll have to get asked that one, I think, off air and in person with no one else around, if anyone wants to know it.
Or if anyone wants to cover my mortgage, you can do that, and I'll say it before the Healesville Cup on Sky on Sunday. Anyway, when we're going through our school year, Smithy, we used to love going out. We probably drank certain drinks that we wouldn't drink this day and age. Probably some Smirnoffs, WKDs. Yeah. For me, it was probably the Woodstocks.
Yes. We've all been guilty of that.
Yeah, there's probably been a few nights where I'd have a couple too many of those, get home, hands and knees over the throne and just have a Dustin Drew.
I don't know if Dusty's going to like that one. Dusty's going to like it.
I thought I'd roll it out.
I reckon he'll like it, but I don't reckon he'll like knowing that that's his name getting But I like it. I reckon that's good.
He's just going to steamroll some of these.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. So I know you have a fantastic brain that works these sort of things, and it takes my brain, the hamster wheel takes a little bit longer to get going, but for anyone out there that's listening to this, please, if you've got your own ones, let us know, because we'd absolutely love them, because we have a good chuckle.
Let it rip in the comments. And if you are at Healesville on Sunday, you can speak to Frosty.
Yep.
And we'll get something sorted for you.
Yep. Exactly right.
All right, done deal. Okay, in all seriousness, we're going to take a look at this Healesville Cup coming up this Sunday. And we spoke about the depth of the race, and there was no better example when we look at the times that were ran on Sunday, because outside of Blue Blood, and no disrespect to everyone behind him, the Lanigan camp, but there was just over a length separating the 7 dogs and times that they set. So it's going to make that start so important.
Well, you and I, in our opening comments on Sky on Sunday morning, we spoke about the wind and we spoke about Aston Fantastic's run of 1871, and JVDM, our man, said that there was a tailwind that day, and we were there on course, and we're like, well, it's a fair tailwind here today. Imagine what they're going to run.
Yeah, we thought they were going to run their hands off the clock.
Exactly right. So, and they did. Every single dog broke.
Still quick.
Every single dog broke 19 seconds, which is unbelievable for that to happen. I can't imagine there'd be too many races that every single dog has ever broken 19 seconds going into it. So it's full of quality, full of fast times heading into it. But yeah, it was probably not as much of a factor as what we thought it was going to be, because as we kind of said, every dog's running with that wind, and conditions didn't change too much throughout the day.
Yeah, for sure. And we know when you get a field like this that is so even in terms of ability and the times they're able to set on a 2-turn track, it's absolutely vital about what sort of path they're going to get early, what draw they've got. At Healesville, it's probably not so much the draw they come up with, is it, Smithy? It's sort of what the habits of these greyhounds within the field want to do. And we've got a field in front of us where there's not many of them. They're going to carve right or carve left, but there is some key impacts from a couple of these.
The favourite thing I ever hear from trainers is it doesn't really matter about the box draw, it matters what's drawn around them. And I think there's no truer thing that can be said, because sometimes you might have a dog that's unbeaten from 5 starts from box number 1, but then you get a mad railer in box number 2 that goes hard left in its first 2 or 3 strides, and it can take you out of business. So anytime I'm doing the form, anytime I'm analysing the races, I want to know what those dogs' traits are. I want to know whether they go hard left, hard right, whether they stay straight, and you kind of start building your maps in regards to that. And anyone that does Healesville form ad nauseum, you'll find that sometimes a wide runner drawn in 4 and pushes up the track will just take care of everything on the outside, and you're looking at 1, 2 or 3. So it happens in every race, not just Healesville, but particularly straight track racing. You want to have a look at these traits.
Yeah, indeed. So we're going to take a look at a couple of these, and I guess the first heat we'll hone in on is Aston Fantastic and Zipping Gorillas, who had an awesome battle up the straight. We know they both carried some really good straight form leading into their heat. We saw a classic battle between them.
We did. The market kind of said it was going to be a 2-dog war, and it eventually turned out that way. And I'm glad to see both of them made the Healesville Cup final, because not exactly the ideal draw coming up against one of the 2 kind of favourites for the series going in and trying to find your way through. But that's the good thing about the 6-dog heat. But Zipping Gorillas, he was drawn pretty well out wide, and he just kind of hung out there and did his thing. He's a dog that's probably going to go straight, and he's probably not going to move a hell of a lot. If anything, he might shift up the track from that box number 5. But Aston Fantastic comes up with a really nice draw from box number 1, with one of the keys to the race drawn a couple of boxes outside of it.
Yeah, for sure. And we had the advantage of having the man's head on camera there at Healesville on Sunday, which clearly paints a very different picture to the race and what you see on what's a sort of semi-lateral vision. And probably no better example in Spot Fox. We probably knew going in that he was going to shift off the track, but this is a sort of vision we need to really map out this Cup final and see how it's going to play out.
Our man JVDM, he was complaining about box 3 all week. He wants the pink with Spot Fox. He's a dog that wants off the track around these sort of straight races, and he didn't get that. And from box number 3, he actually shifted in probably a half metre, half box, whatever you want to call it, and then came back out as the race wore on. So it'll be interesting to see whether he does that exact same thing. We do have the lead in, of course, with him having box 3 in the heat, box 3 in the final now, so you can kind of start putting it together.
Had the same meal on Saturday night.
Exactly right. So there's a lot of superstitions that are coming into play that we're calling on our man Jim to do. But I was intrigued to see it actually pop in just that half a step, half a metre, and then drift out, which will be interesting. It might be one of the keys to the race is Spot Fox, and there's probably another one of those in Mile a Minute who goes the other way. So had box number 7, and once again another superstition as box number 7 in the final, but there was a couple of vacant boxes and he went hard left. So they're probably the 2 dogs that everyone else drawn around them are going to want to avoid.
Yeah, indeed. So we're going to take a look at Mile a Minute and how he gets down towards a fence. So not only do we have this profile about him, as we're seeing here, he just wants to push down, but it's going to help Valhalla on his outside.
Yeah, exactly right. We were doing the box draw, and Tommy Savalas wandered in while we were doing it, and he saw box number 8 pop up, and he just gave me the big thumbs up, and that's a greyhound that he likes drawn off the track, gives him time to balance up, stay out of trouble, don't cop too much pressure, and then when you've got Mile a Minute to your inside who's going to go hard left, realistically, Valhalla should be able to just run the race at his own pace and be able to kind of do what he likes out there. And I think it'll be a really nice draw.
Yeah, 100%. Who do you think is going to win the race?
It's a tough question. It's a tough race, but I'm going to go with a dog that's actually unbeaten going into this series in Serial Sticker. I know it's got Spot Fox on its outside, and we've spoken about how it would probably push off. I think it might come in a little bit and then push off like it did in the heat. But if it gets clear air, Serial Sticker is going to be incredibly hard to beat. And that turn of foot after probably the first 5, 10, 20 metres, I think is really impressive. And there's so much upside in this greyhound moving forward.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to tip Valhalla. I just love how he's got mile a minute drawn on his immediate inside. He should run pretty straight. He hasn't been to Healesville for a period of time prior to his heat on Sunday. So I think he's in the box seat to, one, get clear air, and given the evenness of this final we've got in front of us, that's going to be all important. So I checked the weather conditions before. It's not going to be great. 16 in showers. So if you want to get out there, you might have to speak to your man Peter Frost, Smithy, and see if he can get you in the VIP section.
Yeah, well, I would be talking to Frosty.
Pull a few Palawa Kings and see if he can get anywhere.
Yeah, exactly right. I would be talking to Frosty because he's a man that is a very nice man. Hopefully, he will listen. But
he'll be happy after the Swans knock off the Giants on Saturday afternoon as well.
He will be, but he's always happy to help people out, which we absolutely love. And there's plenty of undercover area at Healesville, so come out, maybe bring a raincoat, maybe bring an umbrella, but it's going to be hot racing. The Highway 31 Maiden Series is going to be on as well, and there's always a star that he's unearthed during that series. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that final, but most of all, I'm looking forward to the Healesville Cup and a few people getting out there on course.
It's been a late scratching from a calling point of view as well. Jim's out, Dan Hibbard's in. So if you want a photo and shake his hand of James Vandermark, make sure you get along the Healesville on Sunday. And Smithy, just quickly, before Sunday's Healesville Cup, we got the Top Cap final at the Meadows on Saturday night. And I know you said before you don't like taking things off air, on air, but I did note before you mentioned our Canaveral class would probably win the Top Cat on Saturday night. Is that true?
No, I definitely did not say that. You've thrown me under the bus there, but it's a cracking race. And I am a big advocate for staying races. I absolutely love them, and I really do try and campaign hard to keep them all on the calendar and keep giving opportunities for some of these quality stayers to have a run and to stay in Victoria. And we've seen that here. I know it's only worth $15,000 to the winner. I say only, but it's only worth $15,000 to the winner, and it's chock full of quality. You got Drill Sergeant, you got Aunt Virginia, you got Mapunga Surprise. It's going to be a ripping night of racing, and the Pat Haas Classic as well, honouring a true trailblazer of the sport. Yeah, good set of heats for both those series, which do culminate in those finals at the Meadows this Saturday night. And then, as we've touched on throughout the whole show, turn the page to Sunday, Healesville Cup final. It'll be race 10 on the card. Make sure you're in front of the TV if you can't get in the track and soak it up. It's going to be a great contest.